Hola, ¿cómo están? Soy Patricia Gomez y quiero darles la bienvenida a esta edición especial de nuestro programa. Hoy en Adelante nos unimos por segunda vez a la producción nacional Los Graduados, que explora los esfuerzos de los estudiantes latinos por obtener una educación. En Wisconsin vemos cómo el Distrito Escolar de Racine hace esfuerzos para resolver el problema de bajo índice de graduación de los estudiantes minoritarios al resolver problemas de conducta, así como de diferencias culturales entre estos y los maestros. En la primera parte de estos especiales, vimos cómo en Wisconsin el Distrito Escolar de Racine hace esfuerzos para resolver el problema del bajo índice de graduación de los estudiantes minoritarios, incluyendo los latinos. En esta segunda edición, presentamos las estrategias que se están usando en la Escuela Elemental S. Johnson, donde se ha logrado mejorar el aprovechamiento de los estudiantes al mejorar la conducta.
This is my 5th year here, so the first year I came was my first year as a directing principal. I had been an assistant for 2 years at two smaller schools, so it was a much larger building right away and lower achievement. Their test scores were lower than other schools I had been at, but the main thing was the behavior issues. We have something called a blue slip, and it's a referral that teachers send a student to the office if they get in trouble for something. If a child is sent with a blue slip, they have to be processed with the principal before they can return to class. I had so many blue slips that first year, the first few months even, that I couldn't believe it. I had never been at a school that had that many discipline issues. And our discipline rate that first year, we had almost 800 blue slips, over 250 suspensions, which means they're out of school for the day or 2 days or 3 days. And besides that amount, we also had lots of kids just sent to the office without a slip. We decided to look at some aspects of that data and see if we found anything that stuck out. And one of the main things that we found were 99% of children sent to the office were African American. And we don't have 99% of our student population being African American. We decided right then we had to look at how to change that. And then we did some discussions about when we came from this type of background, but our students are coming from such a poor economic situation, and some of them in a safe or unsafe neighborhood. How does that affect how they learn, and how does it affect how we accept them? How to build relationships better between teachers and that cultural area. And we decided to do some professional development in looking at culturally relevant teaching strategies and having staff examine some of their biases that maybe they didn't even realize they had.
S.E. Johnson has, for reasons that are not always clear, but they geographically serve a population that is overrepresented with homeless kids compared to other schools their size in the school district. Usually I have about 1,000 kids per year that are identified homeless, and this school has between 70 and 80 children, which is probably 2 to 3 times the number of children experiencing homelessness that you would find in comparable elementary schools. One thing that homeless students really suffer from is acute anxiety, because they don't know where they're going to sleep, or if they're going to eat, or if they're going to have clean clothes to wear the next day, or if they're going to be able to do their homework, things like that. And that kind of anxiety can produce behavior that is either extremely introverted or extremely extroverted. So a child can come into a school and present a real challenge to a teacher. Well, I try to do several things. First, make sure that they get free and reduced lunch. Make sure that their book rental fees get paid. I try to make sure that the district doesn't create policies that are barriers to their successful education, and try to work with the families with referral services to give them as much stability as we can. I think the principal is extremely interested in helping these children and has done a really fine job in helping her staff understand that the history of the child is not the destiny of the child, that different interventions can occur, that you can have programs that build a child's self-esteem and give them a sense of belonging and build a relationship with significant adults that will absolutely have a lasting impact on the child. I think it's really important to understand that every child is an individual. Every child can thrive under the right circumstances and needs to be supported and accepted as an individual who can create, who can integrate information, who should have high standards, who should have expectations. But there needs to be a great deal of empathy for the circumstances of the child, that you will see gifted and talented children. You will see children who can persevere against all odds. And remember that education is the only light at the end of this tunnel. And without it, it is a hit on the very essence of democracy, because this kind of poverty that creates the situation, it will not allow a sustainable community. And that's really what we're looking for.
I have seen so many teachers at SC Johnson have that aha moment. It's like, wow, I didn't know this was happening. Wow, I didn't know that I was actually doing this. It wasn't malicious, but sometimes we have things within our own lives, within ourselves, that we just didn't realize until it was brought to our attention. This is a systemic problem. This is not something necessarily that I did, but it's something in our culture that exists. So let me recognize that and let me see what I can do to reverse what's been happening.
Well, education has always been, a family effort. My parents were always very involved in what happened at school. Some days I would show up at school and my mom would be there, ready to help out. So, it became something that my parents were always there, invested in what we were doing at school. So school became something that we talked about all the time, and what we were learning and our teachers. And so, it seems kind of natural that we all kind of fell into education, because it's something that is very close to our hearts and something that we feel, education is the key to going anywhere, to doing anything. So it's something that as a family we grew up with and something that we always cherished. So, it's not a surprise to me that I fell into it and my sister fell into it, and that my dad is still, involved here at SC Johnson too, because it's something we know that the community and families need to be behind for students to be successful. So, I'm not shocked at all that we're all teaching.
Las iniciativas para ayudar a mejorar la conducta de los estudiantes incluyen mejorar las relaciones entre maestros y alumnos, es decir, las estrategias se han centrado en que los maestros vean las similitudes que en forma personal tienen con sus estudiantes en lugar de las diferencias culturales.
Yeah, we did start some school-wide initiatives a few years back. One of the things, behavior-related, look at what does this child like. If you can find one thing that you can talk about with a person, you can hook them. And that's the main thing that we want teachers to do, is build a close relationship. We said we wanted their classrooms to be like their little family, and then our school to be a big family. So we gave them some tools to do that.
The district was putting on the competition, and another staff member had mentioned the opportunity to me, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to take it and bring it into the music classroom, because it was a video, and I figured music video, we could make some fun stuff with it. So I brought it in, and I had all of the kids in the entire school. We created lyrics during the first week, and I had them write down words and put words together and work on rhyming words and using descriptive language. And then we went on to recording the actual words, and we looked at the recording art and using GarageBand and stuff like that, and I had it up on the smart board so they could see what we were doing. And then we worked on coming up with ideas for the video, like choreography, different shots we could do. So really the only thing that I actually did was edit the video and film it. So everything else was student created. So, and I think that was the most important part, is involving every single student regardless of race, gender, age, ability. And I think it really helped strengthen the feeling of community in our school, which we already had, but I think it just gave everyone something to root for together, which really just improved that feeling of community. I think at first too I was a little nervous, but as the video kind of came together, I started to just realize how much energy the kids had in the video. And I think that really worked to our advantage. Not to mention, a lot of the kids, because the kids and the other teachers were so excited about it, I think that really helped to really get out the word. You know, people were emailing other people and sharing it with their friends and family. So I think a lot of it I would also contribute to the community and to the friends and family of the students that were here working on it. So they are just ecstatic. I mean, I remember just a couple weeks ago when I told them that we won it and I had the trophy in my hands and I let them pass it around, you know, they're all amazed, and a few of them were kissing it, which was kind of funny, but they really, I mean, for them, it's just that feeling of accomplishment and success, and that real life example of the hard work does pay off, and that everyone can do it together. So the award was nice in itself, but for me as a teacher, seeing our students happy and successful and realizing their talents and abilities was the biggest reward of all. So I would assume that we're going to use the money for something school related, because the whole school did make it. I would like to do something that just kind of continues that feeling of involvement with the whole school and the feeling of community throughout the school. I just want to say thank you for being patient with me, especially the other teachers here in the school. I did a lot of taking kids out of class, bringing them back in, going to the classroom. So they were really patient with me, and to the parents who support their kids, always keep them involved in the arts and music because it's extremely helpful in all other areas of academics. So overall, just thank you to the community and parents and teachers for your help in this process.
The FBI program, Fathers Being Involved, was started because we felt that a lot of our kids didn't have a male in their household, and a lot of single family homes, moms working a lot, sometimes 2 or 3 jobs, and just having a guy to talk to sometimes is helpful.
The FBI program started January of the 2010 school year, and once again I saw the program in a different school. What that program did there, it kept students out of the principal's office and in the classroom. Wow, simple. If a child is out of the classroom, they're missing instruction, and that's something we needed to stop here. And I'm sure Kim can tell you the hours that some students would spend in the office because she had to see each student. Each student that comes to the office, we have to see that student before they can return to the classroom. The FBI dads can take a child that's having difficulty in the classroom, talk to them, walk them around the building, find out what's going on, get them back to the classroom. I wish I could record the hours, the hundreds of hours that they've kept students in the classroom. In the classroom, you're getting the instruction, you're going to have a better chance at meeting your goals.
And I've been involved with the FBI program since its inception, about 6 years now. I also have a child at the school in the 2nd grade, bilingual. And I think here's my opportunity to help a young person reach their highest potential and grow from ordinary to extraordinary by doing just a little bit more than they've done the day before. So I help them to appreciate 2 things in being successful: to follow good instructions and to listen. And if they can listen and follow instructions, they will never be in trouble. And so I try to share stories, examples with them. For the most part, it works because I try to be calm at all times, but at the same time, I try to keep in mind that they're young people starting out and they don't have a clue. So that's my opportunity to give them a good clue and hope that it sticks.
Certain classrooms we have built relationships with over the years, and the teachers know us, and we can come in, pop our heads in, let them know that we're there. And there's certain kids in those classrooms, if we have dealt with that kid before, then we come in and check on them, let them know that we're around, and if they're having any problems, then before they go to the office, hopefully that they would deal with us. Most times it's coming back and having them to say, understand the impact that had on the class and the impact that had on them as a person. did it solve anything by that distraction? So it's a number of different techniques that I use, and actually I learned things from the other guys as well.
And this year alone, they've put in over 700 hours, volunteer hours. So they are very dedicated. Sometimes I have a dad that comes every day. I have some that come once a month. So whatever they can spare. That program won the RAMAC Program of the Year a couple of years ago. Other things we did is Give Me Five. So if you're in a room and it's getting a little too noisy, we holler out, "Give me five," and their eyes are supposed to be on the speaker, and they're supposed to be quiet and their hand up like "Give me five." That has worked out awesome. So we started that work at the end of my first year here, and it has grown. And now I'm happy to say this year we have less than 100 blue slips, and most of them are one-time blue slips. We don't have a lot of repeaters for students, so if they do get in trouble for something and get sent to the office, they usually figure it out and they don't get sent again. And I'm lucky to have an assistant principal now, so when kids are sent down, we can deal with the problem, get them back on track, and get them back to class right away. Our MAP test scores, that's a test we take 3 times a year, and in the past, only about 35 to 40% of our kids met their goals. This year, over 70% met or exceeded their goal. And I can't say for sure it's because our behavior is better, but I'm sure that that does have a big piece in keeping kids in class, and they're doing better on testing then.
La nueva superintendente del Distrito Escolar de Racine, Loli Hoss, nos habla de diferentes aspectos de su administración, incluyendo el cómo se están enfrentando los problemas de conducta que se presentan en los estudiantes del distrito. Dr. Hoss, thank you for being with us again on Adelante.
My pleasure.
Dr. Hoss, you have presented a 90-day plan to the district. Can you talk about your priorities in this plan?
Sure. Well, I start out in my plan by saying, of course, that the board hired me to do a few important things. One was to close achievement gaps. Another was to raise achievement overall for all students. Another part of the board's directive to me is to make sure that we do a better job of creating a positive, respectful image in our community so that people look to Racine as a leading high-quality district, and to do a better job of engaging our community and working with people in the business community and in the homes and neighborhoods of Racine to create a great school system. And so I'm here to carry out that plan on behalf of the board. I'm spending my first 90 days trying as much as possible to simply listen and hear all the different perspectives. And in November, I will share with the community what I've heard. Then in December, I will come back to the community and to the school board with a plan for how we're going to go through these next months, years, and then many years out, and how we're going to start addressing all of the issues that I've heard and learned about Racine.
Well, Racine is a very beloved area for the Latino community in Milwaukee and in other places. And Latinos are looking at Racine and its efforts, the school district efforts on helping the students to, how you say it before, to close the achievement gap.
Right.
But one of the concerns that I have heard the most is that people are concerned about the changes that come with changing the head of the district. What will be your response to this concern?
I think I believe deeply that no one can lead any organization, a school, a district, or a business, giving it a year or two. You know, nothing can happen. Racine has caught me at a great time. I'm at an age and stage in my career where I have 5, 7, 10 years left, which is just about the right amount for me to be able to come here and do what I want to do. I've bought a home in the community. Someone told me recently that I'm the first superintendent in 10 or 12 years to have purchased a home. My husband has moved here. My dogs have come with. My children are coming to visit this week, actually, to see our new home. We love the Racine community. It's beautiful, beautiful area.
Another concern that people are bringing to me is in relationship to the balance on some of your schools where all the teachers are no minorities and most of the students are minorities, and how cultural differences can be affecting the learning process of the students.
So we have to do a few things, and we are. We have to be sure that we're working with the people who are in our schools right now on developing and improving their cultural competence, so they have an opportunity to think about themselves and their beliefs and how that might or might not be affecting what's happening in the dynamics in the classroom. What do they believe deeply and truly that all children can succeed, and despite their color, despite their ethnicity, despite their language. So we want to look at those things. We also need to look at the teaching, the strategies. Do teachers know and use strategies that are meant for children of different cultures or speaking different languages? And then we also have to do a great job of recruiting people to our district who are of color. Our goal is to have our teaching staff, our educators in the buildings, the diversity that they bring reflect the same diversity that we have in our schools. That's hard to do. We have many things in place right now to, in terms of how we recruit, which schools we are going to recruit teachers from, which colleges and universities. We're going further and further from just this local area to try to find people who are wanting to come here. We're establishing groups in the high school of young high school students who think they might want to be teachers, and encouraging them and seeing if we can get them to sign on early to come back to us when they get done with school and teach where they actually went to school themselves. We're looking at working with our local universities to take some of our teacher assistants and other employees and help them get their teaching certificates quickly so that they can move right into a teaching position and become one of our teachers.
There are around 1,000 homeless kids in your district now. There used to be 500, 600, but the conditions of the economical crisis of the country are being part of your district. Do you have a plan to help these students?
Well, the main approach with homeless children who are moving a lot, moving from home to home to home, staying with different relatives, that sort of thing, is to maintain as much stability in their lives as possible, and that means not requiring them to change schools every time they move. So one thing we certainly do is make sure that they can stay in their school and not have to change classrooms all the time. And there's a lot of research out there that shows us that children who go through traumas like that, like constantly moving or having their families disrupted or having violence in the homes, whatever the trauma is, there's a significant impact on the way the brain even works. And we're wanting to make sure we're actually planning a session for our teachers in late October to understand more about that, so that they don't make assumptions about kids' behavior when in fact there's really just been a severe trauma for the child and what they've experienced in their life, and that when you look at it in that lens, you can be much more understanding and much more able to work directly on the problem instead of just deciding that the child is, a bad child, misbehaving on purpose and being willful, So we have many things work. We're also working, Dr. Gallion, who's our chief of schools, is working very diligently on creating a much better alternative school program for our middle school and high school students for whom that regular high school is too big or too large of a class size, no relationships. We have a series of offerings for alternative programs, not for kids who are having behavior programs, but for kids who really are at risk of dropping out or at risk of giving up on school, that there are other options for them to have, that they can continue on track and still graduate from our schools.
Dr. Hoss, there is the typical problem that is also hurting every school district, and this is the problem of behavior. Are there any plans for training in this area? Right. Behavior can affect also the learning process of the students?
We are making sure, we've started this process already, but we're making sure that we finish it out for all of our schools and school leaders this year. It's called PBIS, a Positive Behavior Intervention System, that helps a school set up a tone of a positive place. So instead of always focusing on the few kids who are really making a scene and misbehaving, we have a much more positive approach. It also emphasizes teachers creating a relationship with their students, that the school has very clear rules for how we walk in the halls, and just it's a way that the school is organized in a more positive climate. So we're making sure we have that. I'm also setting up 2 committees, one elementary and one middle school, to look at 2 training programs that I hope to roll out for fall. One is responsive classroom, which is for elementary schools, and it really is a process that teachers use for 10, 15 minutes every morning, and the children all sit in a circle, and it's a morning meeting, and it's a way through questions and discussion that the children develop a relationship with each other, and when they know each other and have a relationship, and it also teaches them social skills and talks about what do you do when you're frustrated, or when somebody pushes you, what might you do instead of pushing them back? What are the other skills that you need? So that approach is something I'd like to see us be using in our elementary schools. And then there's something very similar. It's actually designed by the same people, but it's for middle school students. It's called Developmental Designs, and it's a program that, again, helps every middle school teacher develop a relationship. So every middle schooler has one teacher in their school that's really knows them very well. And all the teachers in all the classrooms use the same classroom management processes. So when there's a misbehavior, there's this step, then this step, then this step, and all of the steps are the same in every single class. And when that happens, children are much more secure because they know what to expect everywhere they go.
Dr. Hoss, is there something that you want the audience to know about you?
I really want people to know that I'm really here to make a difference. And I think the next 3 to 5 years are going to be nothing but extremely successful, and I'm so looking forward to this opportunity. I'm really honored to be here and thrilled for the future that Racine has.
Dr. Hoss, thank you so much.
Thank you
for being with us.
Thank you.
Y al final de un programa más de Adelante, por favor déjenos saber sus comentarios en nuestro teléfono 297-7544 o escríbanos a nuestra dirección de correo electrónico en adelante@matc.edu y visítenos en nuestro sitio del internet en mptv.org y en Facebook. Sintonícenos en Milwaukee Public Television, canales 10.1 y 36.2 todos los martes a las 6:30 de la tarde y en canal 36.1 los miércoles a las 12:30 de la medianoche y los domingos a las 6 de la tarde. Y en MPTV VM 10.3 los viernes a las 6 y 6:30 de la tarde y los domingos a las 8 de la mañana. Soy Patricia Gomez, gracias por acompañarnos.